Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Dispatches programme, the only English language programme addressing the English-speaking communities living in the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus and abroad. We will tonight be talking about a variety of issues. We'll be talking about the latest report given by the European Parliament. We'll be talking about the ORAMS case ruling by the British Court of Appeals. And also we'll be talking about the latest developments taking place in the Cyprus solution process. Now, before we begin the programme, I'd like to draw everyone's attention to the report given by the European Parliament with regards to Turkey. And in brief, the report calls on Turkey to retract its military presence in Cyprus and to give Maraş back to the Greek Cypriots. This is a very late development, and of course we'll be talking about other issues as well. My guest tonight is the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus founding president, Rauf Denktaş, and it's an honour to have him on my programme. Mr. Denktaş, welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's start by talking about the very latest developments. The European Parliament has inserted a very late provision into Turkey's report, and they're calling on Turkey to remove her troops from Cyprus and to give Maraş back to the Greek Cypriots. Let's start by talking about
this.
Well,
I do not know what evidence these people have got before them, whether they have heard both sides, all sides, whether they have sent a delegation here to find out what the truth is, what is happening in Cyprus, what has happened in Cyprus. In other words, without putting a sort of prognosis on the problem, they decide and remedies. Which has not worked for 46 years. That's why the Cyprus problem is not settled. There are two parties in the Cyprus problem. The rule is that you have to deal with them on basis of equality. They have done exactly the opposite by treating the guilty party, the party which has defied international agreements, which has destroyed the partnership state which international agreements have established, and they have pinpointed the guilt on the Turkish side. It is not the Turkish side which created the Cyprus problem. About withdrawing the troops. Why is Turkey here? Did they ask it? Did they find out? Had Turkey not come in, what would have happened? Have they found out? Have they visited the villages where even 16-day-old babies, 1, 2, 3, 4-year children, elementary school children, their grandfathers have all been rounded up, shot and buried in mass graves, village after village? Why? Because we are not wanted in Cyprus, because partnership is defied, because international agreements have been defied. Have they any sense about that? Don't they see that Greek Cypriot side is still arming, continuing to arm itself, and believes itself to be the owner of the whole island, when international agreements have decided that there are two owners of Cyprus, Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots, and they should live in partnership, but the partnership was destroyed by Greek Cypriots. About Varosha, are they aware that several times we offered Greek Cypriots Varosha back and they didn't come because they want to come back to the whole island, to take it over again, to make it a Greek island? Are they aware that 103 villages since 1963 have been denied us? They have been using our properties, our farms, our lands, our houses, everything for 46, 47 years without paying any rent, without paying any compensation. What we call the wealth of these 103 villages is equal to the Varosha. The number of people who used to live in these villages is equal to the number of people who used to live in Varosha. Do they know that there is an agreement for bizonality and and an exchange of population, because the two peoples should not again mix up in such a way that there should be reasons for more conflict, more bloodshed? No, they don't know. They just shut their eyes. They listen to the Greek side, and they decide in favor of the Greeks because they regard the Greek side as the legitimate government of Cyprus. If there is illegitimacy in Cyprus, if there is any violence in Cyprus, any guilty party in Cyprus, it is the Greek Cypriot party. But propaganda has won the day, and myth has placed reality. And they are trying to settle the problem on the myth which Greek Cypriot side has been producing them.
Mr. Denktaş, this late provision into the Turkish report was actually put in by British-based Andrew Duff. He's actually the person that introduced the provision. And the Greek Cypriot parliamentarians, according to our report, have saluted it. They actually got up and they hugged him and kissed him for having put in this provision. Why is the European Union at such a critical time in the Cyprus talks thinking of putting forward such reports? I mean, why are they doing this? Do they not want a solution in Cyprus?
No, they believe that because our president, Mr. Talat, has stated repeatedly that he doesn't want a separate state, he doesn't want separate sovereignty, all he wants is to unite and so on. They think that this is as good as being saying it, and that it is possible. It is not possible. It has not been possible for 46 years because Greek Cypriots, no matter what concessions Mr. Talat makes or have made, they want the whole island. Mr. Duff has been here before, has been on the Cyprus problem before. He has made very harmful statements before. He will see, and the people who have got this resolution will see that this is not helpful for the solution of the Cyprus problem. On the contrary, it helps Greek Cypriots to put their position higher and higher and refuse to compromise from their false position of the government of Cyprus.
So the Turkish Cypriots cannot expect a reasoned approach by the European Parliament?
Unfortunately so, because I repeat, they have not investigated what the Cyprus problem is through impartial delegation. Either people like Mr. Duff has come, has made certain observations in favor of the Greeks, or they have just passed through without finding out what is happening. And I regret to say that propaganda is the very successful art of the Greek Cypriots.
Mr. Denktaş, do you think this is related to Turkey's EU membership as well? Are
yes.
they using Cyprus?
Oh, yes. I mean, this has been repeatedly said by impartial members of the EU and the European Parliament, that Cyprus is being used as a cause for preventing Turkey's full membership. This is obvious. They are, even in Turkey, certain members of parliament have stated that each time they put a condition before us and we abide by it, they produce new conditions. They, frankly, do not want Turkey as a full member. They need Turkey. They don't want Turkey to cut all relations with them. As somebody said, they want Turkey at the doorstep, but not inside as a full member. And they are using the Cyprus problem as a very conveniently as a reason why they should sort of make difficulties for Turkey.
And the Greek Cypriots are also threatening quite frequently that they will veto the negotiation chapters of Turkey as well.
Well, that is why Turkey's representatives have at last been forced to say, look, we have a Cyprus problem. We haven't created it. We have done our best to settle it. Even in the Annan plan, which was not a perfect plan for us, Turkish Cypriots have said yes, because Turkey also wanted it to be so. But it is Greek Cypriot side which is kicking back and not agreeing to any settlement, because they want the whole island under this false title of government of Cyprus. So if EU puts before us the alternatives of membership or Cyprus, we say Cyprus. That is the point they have driven Turkey now. And the belief in the impartiality, injustice, and sincerity of EU has gone down in Turkey as well as in the island.
With regards to the Turkish ports, Mr. Denktaş, as you know, European Union officials are asking Turkey to open her ports to the Greek Cypriots.
They are not asking to open it to the Greek Cypriots. They are saying Greek Cypriots are Cyprus, and the Cyprus flag should be allowed to enter these ports.
But Ankara made an agreement on this, did they not?
As soon as they signed the agreement, the additional protocol, as it is called, in which 10 states were, and Cyprus existed, they also made an announcement, a written announcement. This Cyprus we regard to be the Cyprus that we have guaranteed. So until it becomes that Cyprus, we are not obliged to do things to it. But EU said, oh no, you signed the protocol, that is what we look at. What you have said after signing it is irrelevant. Why? Because they are not sincere. Because it is all a play and a ploy to make Turkey submit to their will. And submission to their will means not a full member, but just attached to EU under special conditions.
And whilst this is being discussed, the isolations on the Turkish Cypriots continue.
Well, not only the isolations, as I said, it is cruel, unacceptable to tell people that your court of law is the Greek Cypriot courts, which are unconstitutional, composed of Greek Cypriot judges, and contrary to the constitution, they are now being made our courts. Their decision will be implemented here or in all European EU countries. This is cruelty to person. Yeah. This is unacceptable, and I'm very sorry that even Guarantor Britain was not in a position to tell the court in the ORAMS case that our policy is a settlement of the Cyprus problem through the talks, which are continuing. We support these talks, and therefore it is against our policy that a judgment of the Greek Cypriot courts should be implemented in Britain. If they had said this, then this judgment would not have come out.
We've made our way into the ORAMS case, so let's talk about the ORAMS case. We don't need to go into the historic developments, Mr.
No,
Denktaş,
we don't need to. This is it. In the ORAMS case, as you know, there was, before the Cyprus became an EU member, the Dome Hotel case, the Hesperides case, where the highest court in England,
House of Lords,
declared that this is not within the jurisdiction of British courts, because it is in another country. Talks are continuing now in Vienna or somewhere for settlement. We don't have to interfere, and that was it. And the Queen's Bench, where Oram's case went, decided accordingly that we are not going to interfere. This is something in Cyprus. We are not going to interfere. On appeal, had this fantastic idea that there is a government of Cyprus and the whole island is a member of the EU, made use of. Again, the appeal court would have sent the case out on the basis of the Dome Hotel. But what was used, I think what was wrong was when the Greek Cypriot side's lawyers applied for asking questions about the application of EU law in Cyprus, whether it was possible, although Greek Cypriot power did not extend to the north because of the occupation. All these were accepted as facts without listening to evidence, and so on. When this application was made to the High Court, unfortunately, ORAMS lawyers agreed with it. And they asked Mr. Talat, the president, whether he agreed that this should be done. And Talat is not a lawyer, he has not got good advice, I can say, in Cyprus, agreed. From that moment onwards, I think we deserved the decision which came, because we should have said there, no, Cyprus as a whole is not yet a member of EU. Greek Cypriot ex-partner has done this. There is no consent by the Turkish Cypriot side yet, and you cannot take Cyprus and make it a member. But as I say, they all wanted so-called Cyprus to be a member in order to use it against Turkey. And they shut their eyes and they made it. But we should have made this challenge at that stage. We should have forced the court to hear the facts about Cyprus, that Greek Cypriot side is not the legitimate government, cannot be the legitimate government of Turkish Cypriots because of this, that, and the other. And therefore, referring this to the EU is not proper, because Cyprus is not a member of EU. Even if it is, then the acquis does not apply. The Greek Cypriots have no, and so on and so forth. This challenge was not made. And even I see from the decision that at some stage the lawyers of ORAMS, when asked by the court, do you mean that Greek Cypriot courts are not to be respected? He said, no, we respect the Greek courts and so on. I think everything went wrong from that moment on.
Also in the ruling, Mr. Denktaş, on the paragraph 2, it makes reference to the violence which took place in Cyprus, which led to the Turkish invasion.
It doesn't say so.
It doesn't.
I mean, it says this. The Republic of Cyprus was established in 1960. Some intercommunal strife occurred. In 1974, Turkish invasion began. As a result of this, Greek Cypriots were driven out, including the
Mr.
Apostolides, and goes on. No reference to 1975 exchange of population. No reference to the fact that Turkey did not drive out anybody. The people were afraid of what they had done to Turkish Cypriots, and they left in fear, some of them. But a great number of them stayed with us until 1975 exchange of population agreement. Even after that, they are still staying. Apostolides says that he was driven out of Lapithos. Who drove him out? There remained Greek Cypriots in Lapithos who moved after the agreement for exchange of population. All these things were not before the court.
Mr. Denktaş, the exchange of population, very important. Can you summarize for our viewers what exactly was the exchange of population? The Greek Cypriots say that it was temporary.
How can it be temporary? The reason for it was that there should be no further friction between the two sides, because Cyprus is now in such a position, as it was then, that a single street fight between a Greek and a Cypriot may soon develop into a communal fight between the two sides. So the idea is balanced with the bizonality. Why did we agree on bizonality? Why did we agree that the number of Greek Cypriots who would return would be subject to the legislation of our side, of our state in the north, because, as I said, for security and for the permanence of the state of affairs to be established. That was the reason. So, arguing that it was a temporary thing, how could it be? All Turkish Cypriots have left everything that they had in the south, 30,000, 40,000 people, and moved to the north temporarily. This is nonsense. So, Greek, as I say, Greek Cypriot propaganda is.
Let's go to the questions that were posed to the European Court of Justice. Now, according to Article 234 of the Treaty of Amsterdam, it says that even if the parties in the case do not want to go to seek a preliminary ruling from the European Court of Justice, if the court sees it necessary for reference to be made, it can do so.
If the court sees it necessary, for the court to see it necessary, the court must be either misinformed or not informed about the problem. If you inform the court what the problem is, then the court will find it not necessary. My complaint is that the court was not informed about 1975 exchange of population agreement, reasons for bizonality, the agreement that limited number of Greek Cypriots should settle, the agreement about properties, that global exchange, a global settlement incorporating exchange of property, compensation, limited return, was all agreed on in the talks, through the talks with the General Secretary. All these things were not before the court, apparently. And therefore, the court looked at it as two people claiming to be the owner of one land, and the title deed of the Greek Cypriot is legitimate, proper, legal, and the Turkish title deed is not. No one asked why there are two title deeds now in Cyprus. No one has informed the court that Greek Cypriot remedy was to apply either to the Human Rights Court for compensation or to the commission which was set up here in Cyprus, where it was given millions of pounds as compensation to Greek Cypriots. And in any land, a reasonable approach would be, this is your plot, okay, and this man in good faith has bought it in open market and has built on it, let us say, thousands and thousands of pounds or worth of a building. So ordering the man who has bought the land in good faith to destroy the building and give the land back to the man is unimaginable in any court of law. All that could be said is there is a good faith here, no criminal action, no falsehood, nothing at all, and all this money has been spent. You either pay the value of the building to the side which has built it, or he pays you the price of the land on which he has built it. And that is the settlement of the problem.
Are you happy with the questions that were posed to the European Court of Justice?
I am not happy. I challenged Talat after I heard that these questions were asked, that he should not have allowed it. He should have said, no, let us challenge the court, put before the court all the facts, so that the court should say it is not necessary to go to the what we call European Court of Justice. I mean, had they consulted me, I would have put a few more questions, for example. Well,
I'm sure many
viewers
are
have
wondering.
said all this. First of all, I would challenge it. No, if the court still says we are going to refer it, okay, let us look at the questions. And one of the questions would have been that this gentleman who claims his land back is entitled to be compensated. And in justice, he should do what I have just said. either pay the money for the building or be compensated. I mean, did the judges know that if this decision is implemented in Cyprus, Cyprus would be Cyprus would be in ruins and thousands of people would be without homes? Did anyone tell them this?
Did they not argue this on public policy grounds?
I don't know. I don't know what they argued because we only read the decision, and there it says that they even say this: you have argued that if we give a judgment in favor of the Anastasiadis, then it will harm the process of the talks. But Anastasiadis' lawyer says it may, on the contrary, help the process. How? They don't ask. By forcing us cruelly to bow to a judgment which is really unworkable in the north. Implementing it means devastation, homeless people, and so on. And it goes against the grain of bisonality. It goes against the grain of exchange of population. It is completely out of this world.
Now, after the ruling was made, many Turkish Cypriots, the expat community, everyone is now talking, what will the implications be of the ruling? Particularly for our viewers as well, watching this program in the UK, the Turkish Cypriot diaspora. Mr. Denktaş, to be open with you, everyone is looking at you to see what sort of advice you will give. People are panicking and they want to know what will happen.
Panicking is not necessary. This state, the TRNC, Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, has been compensating Greek Cypriots through the Commission, through the Human Rights Court. And Anastasiadis can be compensated in the same way. The ORAMS have no right to destroy the building. It is a building on our soil, built through our permits rather. So she has no right to say, London court has decided, I am obliged to destroy it. No, madam, you are not obliged. You will not do it. So I think the President and Mr. What do you call, Prime Minister, are right in saying that we shall not allow this to be destroyed and we shall settle this matter. The settlement can be in many ways. The government makes a compulsory acquisition of the land and of everything, and they compensate ORAMS by giving them a house in return, a building in return, or something like that. So let us not panic. Now,
well, I mean concerned. When I say panic, I mean people are concerned.
Well, they are concerned, but we are concerned, of course, naturally. But a way out will be found. Now the new thing is that we discover, unfortunately rather late, that the land which Anastasiadis claims is a Vakıf land. So it could not have been sold to his ancestors. He could not have got it at all, because Vakıf land cannot be sold, cannot be acquired.
This is about which property case?
Anastasiadis.
Apostolides?
Apostolides case. This is just have come out that it is Vakıf
land. This is a very new statement you're saying?
Very new.
What, the ORAMS house is built on Vakıf land?
Yes. So Apostolides should think twice in making all this fuss. This is a new situation. I think the lawyers will be looking at it immediately. Secondly, Greek Cypriot advocate who now thinks that he has won a victory is
Mr. Kandunas.
Yes, is
making threats.
Making threats. He will take more cases to court. This time, I think TRNC should become a third party, as Greece and Greek Cypriot government was in the Apostolidis case. They said we are interested, and they were in it. I wrote to Talat several times. Bayramoğlu from England, as you know, came several times for this. Let us, TRNC should be a third party. Turkey should enter as a third party.
Why did they not?
We wrote, I don't know, because they were, until very lately, the feeling was that we are going to win this case. I don't know why.
The Court of Appeals will not let the British couple down.
Well,
surely they'll find a loophole, and there's
I don't know what. At least the British government could have done one thing. They could have just asked the court, delay your judgment. Whereas the talks are at a very critical stage. Don't hurry with it. But they did the contrary, because they wanted this to be a pressure on Turkey, a pressure on us, in favor of the Greek Cypriots. So Mr. Duff and the rest of it trying to make Cyprus Greek, they must know they will not succeed. And people who are with us should really stay with us and fight with us against this injustice.
Allegations have also been made that the ECJ proceedings was not fair.
Well, I wrote today in one of the papers that any impartial judge, when given a case, he looks at it. Am I interested in this? Have I got an interest in this? If I decide on this case, people looking from outside, will they say really justice has been done, or will it look the contrary, it has not been done? Now, this Greek president, on record,
Justice Skouras,
on record, has come to Cyprus, to the south, several times, has been decorated by the president of the so-called Cyprus government. And he takes on the case, and even while he's working on his report, he visits Cyprus again. He has contacts with all these people, and then he comes out with this report in which there is nothing but Greek Cypriot view, Greek Cypriot propaganda.
Also, Mr. Denktaş, he received a medal as well.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah.
We can't accuse him with bias, that he was biased, but it seems that he was. It seems that it looks ugly for a judge to be like that. You know, my father was a judge in Cyprus, and we had an uncle in Kutrafa village, a shepherd. This uncle used to come from time to time to us, bringing halloumi, as they call it, halim, or yogurt, and so on as he came. And he used to sit and eat with us, talk about the village, and so on. One day, I sat with my father at the table, and a jug of yogurt was brought. Immediately, my father realized who had brought it. Said, "Who brought it?" Halil Dayı, Uncle Halil. Apparently, Halil Dayı had a quarrel in a coffee shop, insulting, and his case was before my father that morning. And he immediately sent the paper, referred the thing to another judge, and thought that Halil Dayı would not come to us. But as this was going on, Halil Dayı walked in. And my father got up and took the yogurt and threw it out of the window. He said, "How dare you? You have a case before me and you bring me yogurt and you come to have lunch with me?" And that man walked out, and I was about 10 or 12 years old. I was so sorry because I loved that man. Later, I realized that what my father had done was the right thing. That poor illiterate villager didn't realize that there was any difference on any day.
Of course, in our culture and tradition.
Exactly. So, I mean, this is how delicate a situation is for a judge. To be seen to be interested with one party or the other. And in this case, as I say, the report, as I read the report, it is a Greek Cypriot version of events.
European Union law actually says that the impartiality of the ECJ, of the courts, must be beyond reasonable doubt. These are the words.
Well,
so is it beyond reasonable doubt?
No, of course
but
not.
The ruling didn't agree with the submissions?
Not. Of course not. It is absolutely any impartial man looking and says, it doesn't look good.
But then there's also the view that there are 13 judges and 12 of them also unanimously voted against the ORAMS.
Well, because they based everything on the report of this gentleman. Once you accept those facts, and you know nothing about the illegality of the Greek court, etc., 1975 exchange of population and so on, as we have said, of course, on that report, they decided in that way. Finished.
Now, another aspect of the ORAMS ruling, Mr. Denktaş, my last question on the ORAMS case, and we'll go into the Cyprus problem. The ORAMS case is obviously, it's gone to the ECJ and it's become primary law now.
It doesn't become primary law for us. We are not going to accept it. We are not going to bow to injustice. We are not going to play the dirty game of the Greek Cypriots. If they want to settle the Cyprus problem through the courts, the talks should stop. And then let us go to the courts and let us argue the Cyprus problem. Let us put all the facts before any court of law and say, these people are not our government, they cannot be our government. If they say that they are, then you will be wrong in history and in everything. Let us play this. No one can make Turkey withdraw its troops by force or by anything, any way, and no one can make us...
Should the TRNC make a declaration that they are not in the EU, or should a referendum be held? I mean, these are the views being put forward by the Democrat Party officials, certain parliamentarians. Are you of the same opinion?
I am of the same opinion. We must raise our voice. The Parliament must speak. The Parliament must say, we are not yet part of the EU. What are you doing? And Greek Cypriots are not our government.
Right. Now, we're coming to the end of our program, my friends are telling me, but I still want to talk about the Cyprus issue. President Talas and the Greek Cypriot leader, Dimitris Christofias, have completed the second round as well now of the intensive talks. How do you see the status of the Cyprus talks, Mr. Denktaş, based on your past experience?
The Secretary General is coming tomorrow, I understand, or on Sunday.
Yeah.
On Sunday. I think it will be a futile visit. All I can say is, in spite of all the concessions, unnecessary concessions made by Talat, Greek Cypriot side still wants more. They want Cyprus, in other words, as the government of Cyprus. And I don't see Talat bowing to everything. So I don't expect a paper to come out, a joint paper to come out, even with the Secretary General's weight on it. But if it does, then it will mean that we have succumbed to everything that Greek Cypriots want. In which case, there will be no chance of such a paper passing through a referendum.
President Mehmet Ali Talat has had successes in the talks as well. He's actually made agreements with the Greek Cypriot leader, Dimitris Christofias, on 2 founding states, political equality, bizonality, bicriminality. These are good successes?
No, he hasn't made an agreement on 2 founding states. He talks about founding state. Christofias says 2 units. 2 units. It's not states. And once you have said that you agree on a joint sovereignty, on one statehood, the word state is used mistakenly.
President Talat says you already made that agreement.
What agreement?
On single sovereignty and single citizenship. Any new partnership would have these aspects.
Well, it didn't work. Greek Cypriots destroyed it. The Greek Cypriots did not want it. At the Annan plan, even they rejected it. Why insist on continuing it? I think Talat, if this was a mistake, should not build the future on my mistakes. He should build it on truth, on facts. He must see that Greek Cypriots have been talking with me since 1977, bizonal, bicommunal federation, and each time we came to signing anything, they have run away. So what was the reason? Even after the Annan plan theater, when we were made to say yes by the Americans and by Turkey, through Turkey, and Greek Cypriots said no. Instead of saying, okay, thank you, now this is the end, we now say, if you don't accept us as a state, a partnership between two states, there is no talks. Instead of saying that, we came from two peoples to two communities again, and to one state and to one sovereignty. There is no such thing. So Denktaş has also done it. Under what circumstances? Circumstances have changed, especially after the two referendums.
And it's also been said that the Turkish side is putting forward proposals in accordance with United Nations parameters. But the stance that you put forward, Mr. Denktaş, it's being said, alleged, that they would fall outside UN parameters. You're talking of having a separate state which goes against the United Nations parameters. Where will that bring the Turkish side?
I repeat, United Nations parameters are what I agreed with Makarios, and United Nations Security Council accepted that as this is what the two peoples want. It is not a creation of the Security Council. It is what the people agreed. And I repeat, 77, we are in 2009 or 10 now, and Greek Cypriots have repeatedly showed that they are merely playing for time. They are not interested in a re-establishment of a partnership with us. So what is the use of continuing? This is what you should stop. United Nations Security Council is not God. God forbid. We should go to the United Nations. We should go to the Americans, to the British, and say, as Turkey and as us, look, this will not work if you force us and force Greek Cypriots into any kind of agreement as in 1960. They will destroy it on the same grounds that it is unworkable, it is undemocratic, it gives the minority too much rights, and within 2 or 3 years we shall have bloodshed again. Do you want that, or do you want a permanent solution?
Would you agree with the latest packet of proposals put forward by President Talat on governance and power sharing, which was refused outright by the Greek Cypriots, saying it had confederal elements?
No, I didn't agree.
You didn't agree?
Of course I didn't agree, because, as I say, it foresees one government, one sovereignty. And further...
But it's also used the word sovereignty for the founding states being able to make international agreements?
No, he doesn't use sovereignty. He says in their own province they can make agreements with their opposite numbers. In other words, education department may make an agreement with the education department on the other side, but with the consent of the government.
Right. Mr. Denktaş, we've actually come to the end of our program. Your final messages for the Turkish Cypriot diaspora and the expats, please.
Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus exists. Its laws are legitimate and lawful, acceptable. No one from outside can impose its own will on us. We are not yet members of the EU, and EU should really look at what Greek Cypriots side is composed of. Violence, terrorism, mass graves, defiance of international law, defiance of human rights, and pretends that it is the legitimate government of Cyprus. That is what they have made a member. Good luck to them. But they will not make us bow.
And if there is no solution in Cyprus, what should the Turkish Cypriots do?
Close the gates to the Greek side and start improving your own state through Turkey.
Thank you very much for taking part in tonight's
Thank
dispatches. And that concludes another edition of the Dispatches programme. My guest tonight was Mr. Rauf Denktaş, the TRNC founding president. It's actually his birthday today as well, so happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
And before the programme, we had brought in a cake to the programme.
Well,
so we do wish you
may
a
I
happy
say
birthday.
that I'm 86 years, and it is a pity that my 60 years have been spent on the very big question, will enosis be achieved? Will Greek Cypriots take over Cyprus, which is our land also? 60 years of my time, and many of my friends have been lost in this battle. It is cruelty to animals that is being done to us. Cruelty to animals even would not have been passed like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the
thank you
struggle
very
continues.
much.
And that concludes another edition of Dispatches. Have a good evening.